So have you guys been online lately? I mean, it's like everywhere you turn, it's like you've stepped right into a Studio Ghibli movie.
Right.
Seriously. All over X, it's just like an explosion of these beautiful, dreamy images. You know, pets, landscapes, even like they're doing these classic memes, but like all Ghiblified. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like the start of a maximalist era, and it's like, it really gets you thinking.
Yeah, it really does. It's amazing how fast this whole thing has blown up, this visual trend. Like, it's really inescapable right now, this Ghiblification of the whole internet.
Yeah, it's like you're just scrolling along and bam, there it is again, like another just like piece of everyday life, but reimagined with that like Ghibli magic, you know?
Exactly.
And you pulled together some seriously cool sources for us to dive into today.
Yeah.
So we've got like all the chatter that's been happening on X, like just people freaking out about it, articles from like TechCrunch and the Next Web. Those guys are always on top of the latest tech, and even some guides for people who like want to try this themselves. But what we really want to get to the bottom of today, right, is this just a flash in the pan, like the internet's flavor of the week, here today, gone tomorrow? Or is there something more to it? Is this like a sign of like a bigger change in how we're using visuals online, how we're expressing ourselves?
Yeah, I think that's the million-dollar question, right? Is this a fad, or is this like a real shift?
Right.
And to figure that out, we gotta like rewind a bit, go back to what even started this whole thing.
Okay.
It seems like a big part of it was the release of OpenAI's GPT-4o model. This was back in March.
Ah, okay. So this is like the next evolution of ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing something about this.
So now anyone can just like type in a few words and boom, they get this amazing Ghibli-style artwork. There was that hilarious example I saw. Somebody took that distracted boyfriend meme, you know that one?
Yeah.
And they put it through this thing and it came out looking like something straight out of Spirited Away.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It was fantastic.
So it's like not even just understanding text, but it can actually like make images from scratch, all in the same tool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. That's the power of these new AI models. They've been trained on like mountains of visual data, you know, so they've learned to recognize all these different art styles and get this, actually reproduce them. It's pretty mind-blowing. And the cool thing is it means you don't need to be some like Photoshop wizard or anything to create stuff like this.
Right.
And it wasn't just regular folks messing around with it. Even Sam Altman, the big guy at OpenAI, he jumped on the bandwagon. Yeah, changed his profile picture to a Ghibli-style portrait, which, I mean, think about it. That's like free advertising for the whole trend. TechCrunch even picked up on that.
Yeah, of course they did.
So, you know, it definitely got even more people talking about it.
It's like everyone decided, hey, you know what? Let's just all dive headfirst into like My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service all at once. And honestly, who can blame them?
Yeah.
I mean, those movies, like that whole Ghibli aesthetic, it's just like irresistible.
It is.
You've got those gorgeous hand-drawn worlds, these like magical characters, and it's just like warm and fuzzy and full of wonder all at the same time.
You hit the nail on the head. It's that perfect mix of charm and wonder that makes it so appealing.
Totally. But to really understand like why this is such a big deal, right? We need to talk about like what it's pushing back against.
Oh, yeah.
Like the whole minimalist thing that's been going on online forever.
Exactly.
So when we say internet minimalism, like what does that actually look like? Paint us a picture. What comes to mind?
Okay, so think about those app icons. Remember when they got rid of all the 3D shading and just became those flat, simple shapes?
Oh, yeah. I hated that. I like the shadows.
Well, a lot of people like the clean look. It was all the rage back then. Think back to like the 2010s, right? Everything was about like clean lines, simple layouts, those sans serif fonts everywhere. Everything just felt like super streamlined.
Right.
And that really took off when Microsoft released Windows 8 and then Apple came out with iOS 7. Everyone was jumping on the bandwagon.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. It felt like very modern, very sleek, but like also kind of cold and impersonal.
Exactly. And that's what David Perel was getting at, right?
Yeah.
He talked about this like soulless valley of right angles and those endless white backgrounds. And his whole point was that we're moving away from that. We're heading into this new era of like visual richness, this maximalist vibe.
Okay, so maximalism, that's like the opposite of minimalism.
Right. Totally. It's the more is more approach to design. The Microsoft Create Guide describes it as like embracing vibrant colors, rich textures, and just like a ton of visual elements.
Got it.
Think about those Ghibli backgrounds. Every little detail, every leaf on the tree, every little object in the room, it's all there for a reason.
Right.
And that richness, that attention to detail, that's what sets maximalism apart from the stark simplicity of flat design.
Okay, so you've got this new AI making it easy to create art in all kinds of styles. And people are craving something more visually stimulating than the minimalist internet.
Right.
But how are people actually reacting to this Ghibli explosion on X? What are they saying?
Well, it's a real mixed bag. Some people are over the moon about it.
Yeah.
Like Jason Scharf, he tweeted something like, "Beauty is just a thought and a prompt away." And it's true, right? This technology is making it possible for anyone to create amazing art, even if they don't have years of training.
Yeah, it's like art on demand. You just imagine it and boom, there it is.
That's it. And then there's Willie Chow. He was super excited too. He said, "The internet is finally becoming as beautiful as it is useful."
Wow.
He even jokingly welcomed our new AI overlords. So there's definitely a sense of wonder and possibility with this whole thing.
But not everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid, right?
No, definitely not.
Oh.
Some people are a bit more cautious, maybe even a little skeptical.
Cool.
Like Martin. He pointed out that, the tech to generate these different art styles has been around for a while, right?
Yay.
But the internet is still mostly minimalist templates and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's wondering if this Ghibli thing is really going to stick around, or if it's just a fad.
So he's not totally convinced.
Right. And then you got Paul Metcalf. He's even more skeptical. He was like, "This will all be forgotten about tomorrow morning."
Oh, that's harsh.
It is, but, internet fads can come and go really fast.
Yeah, that's true.
And even a Tech Trend watcher on X was questioning how long this Ghibli craze will last before the next shiny thing comes along.
It's like that old saying, easy come, easy go.
Exactly.
Okay, so some people are excited, some people are skeptical, but there's also the whole ethical side of things to consider.
Oh, absolutely. This is where it gets really interesting.
So lay it on us. What are the ethical dilemmas here?
Well, TechCrunch brought up a really good point. They said, even though artistic style itself isn't usually protected by copyright, the fact that these AI models are trained on massive databases of existing artwork,
Including Ghibli films.
yes,
Yeah.
raises questions about where these AI are really getting their inspiration from. Are they just ripping off other artists?
Right. Even if it's not technically illegal, it still feels a little icky.
Yeah. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This whole Ghibli thing, it's just the beginning.
What do you mean?
People are already using AI to create images in all sorts of maximalist styles.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about Ghibli anymore.
Nope. This is about way more than just mimicking Miyazaki. It's about exploring all kinds of visual aesthetics.
So what else are people doing with it? Give us some examples.
Well, there's @JordyHayes on Twitter. He tweeted about this shift from Ghibli to Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss?
Yeah. Apparently someone made a portrait of Mark Andreessen, but in a Seussian style.
Wow, that's wild.
Right. And TechCrunch mentioned that people are doing things like turning their wedding photos into Pixar-style animations.
Oh, wow.
And even doing Lord of the Rings scenes, but in a Ghibli style.
So basically the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. Remember what Perel said? Everything from anime to Art Deco is now just a clever prompt away.
It's mind-blowing, really. It's we've got this infinite library of art styles at our fingertips.
Exactly. And all of this is happening because I think deep down people are craving more than just cold, sterile minimalism.
Right. Minimalism can be nice and clean, but it can also feel a bit soulless.
And I think this whole shift towards maximalism with the Ghibli stuff as the catalyst is all about bringing back that emotional connection, even in the digital world.
We're trying to inject some heart and soul back into the internet.
Precisely. And you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
@DesignDreamer tweeted about how Ghibli art is bringing back the magic after years of this cold minimalist internet and all those people sharing Ghiblified pictures of their pets and families. It's all about making the internet feel more personal, more emotionally engaging.
It's we're using this super advanced tech to create something that feels handcrafted and human.
Exactly. It's fascinating. So we've talked about the tech, the cultural context, the emotional side of things.
Right.
But what about this term ghiblification? How would you define this trend?
Yeah, I've been wondering about that too. What does it really mean?
Well, it's basically about taking that unique Studio Ghibli style, those visuals, and using AI to apply it to everything. It's not just about creating something that vaguely resembles a Ghibli movie. It's about taking everyday things like photos, memes, whatever, and transforming them into something that just screams Ghibli.
Right.
Like it's instantly recognizable.
So what is it about the Ghibli style that makes it so perfect for this?
Well, elements.envato.com talked about how Ghibli blends the ordinary with the fantastical. Like you'll have these magical creatures and stuff, but they're living in these totally normal, everyday settings.
Right.
And it just creates this really unique and appealing effect.
I can see that.
And then, of course, there's the whole maximalism thing.
Yeah, those insanely detailed environments.
Exactly. And then you add in the emotional layer, the nostalgia, the sense of wonder, the heartwarming storytelling. It's like a perfect recipe for internet success.
It really is. And then there are tools like Ghibli Diffusion that are specifically designed to replicate that style.
Right. That one's on getmg.ai. It's basically an AI model that's been trained to understand and reproduce everything that makes Ghibli.
Like from the characters to the colors to the overall atmosphere. And it's amazing to see how people are using it to like Ghiblify their own photos and memes.
Okay, so we've covered the technology, the cultural appeal, and the specific elements of the Ghibli style.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture? Like what's happening in our culture and with technology that's allowed this whole Ghiblification thing to take off?
I think a big part of it is that people are just tired of the minimalist aesthetic.
Yeah, it's been around for so long.
Like, yeah, clean lines and flat colors are fine, but they can also feel kind of empty, you know?
Right.
And Ghibli, with its richness and vibrancy, it's like a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
It fills that emotional void that minimalism created. And then, of course, there's the technology.
Right.
GPT-4o, with its image generation capabilities, that's a game changer.
It made it so much easier for people to create this kind of art.
Exactly. You don't need any special skills or expensive software anymore. Anyone can do it. And I think there's also this nostalgia factor at play. Nostalgia.
Yeah, like in this digital world where everything's so perfect and polished, Ghibli's hand-drawn style feels kind of like authentic and old school.
Right.
Like it reminds people of like the good old days of animation, and it taps into that human desire for connection and warmth.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like we're using AI to bring back a sense of humanity to the digital world.
So what kind of impact is this having on online creativity and community?
Well, for one thing, it's definitely sparking a lot of creative energy. Like on X, you see people sharing their Ghiblified creations, talking about prompts, giving each other tips. And at Design Dreamer said it perfectly. They said it's like Ghibli art is ushering in a new wave of maximalism online.
And maximalism is all about embracing detail and abundance, right?
Yes. Think about those crazy detailed scenes in Spirited Away, like the bathhouse.
Oh, yeah.
That's maximalism at its finest. And this shared love for Ghibli, it's bringing people together online, you know?
It's creating a community.
Exactly. So for anyone listening who's like, okay, I want to try this Ghiblification thing, what's the best way to get started?
Yeah, give us the inside scoop.
Well, first things first, you got to understand what makes the Ghibli style tick.
Okay.
Like pay attention to the colors, the details, that blend of nature and fantasy. Elements.envato.com and openart.ai have some good resources for that. And once you've got a good grasp of the style, you can start experimenting with the AI tools.
Like ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT with GPT-4o is a great starting point. It's super easy to use, as that Tech Trend Watcher pointed out. You can just upload a photo and type in a prompt like, transform this into a Studio Ghibli style illustration.
Easy peasy.
And if you want to get more specific, you can add things like, use soft, dreamy colors, or make the background look like a Miyazaki forest.
Got it. What about some of those other tools like Grok 3?
So Grok 3 is really good at capturing that soft, diffused lighting that Ghibli films are known for. At AI Art Fan said as much, but you might need to be a bit more specific with your prompts to get the exact look you want.
Okay, makes sense. And then there's Ghibli Diffusion, right?
Yes. That's the one that's specifically made for this style. You can find it on getmg.ai. It has this cool feature where you can adjust the strength of the Ghibli effect, so you can like dial it up or down.
Nice.
At Creative Spark had a good experience with that one. And then if you want something super simple, there's openart.ai.
Oh yeah, that's the one with the free filter.
Exactly. It's like a one-click solution.
Yeah.
At Art Lover X recommended that one.
Okay, so once you picked your tool, any tips for prepping your images?
Yeah, start with a high-quality image, good lighting, clear details. Simple backgrounds tend to work best, as at Design Dreamer pointed out.
Okay.
And make sure it's in a format that the AI tool can handle, like JPEG or PNG.
Got it. And what about prompts? Any suggestions for capturing that Ghibli magic.
Be as specific as possible. Like for ChatGPT or Grok 3, you could say something like, create a Studio Ghibli-style portrait of my cat sitting in a lush green forest. Or reimagine this photo of a city street as a scene from a Miyazaki film using soft pastel colors.
Okay, cool. And for Ghibli Diffusion and OpenArt.ai, it's pretty much just upload and go, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And once you've got your Ghiblified image, you can always tweak it in a photo editor if you want, like adjust the colors, soften the focus, that kind of thing. And don't forget to share your creations online with the right hashtags.
Right. Got to get those likes.
So I think it's safe to say that this whole Ghiblification thing, it's more than just a passing fad.
Yeah, it seems like it's pointing to a bigger shift in how we're using visuals online.
It's like a sign that we're moving towards a more visually rich and emotionally engaging internet.
And it's all thanks to AI, really.
Absolutely. It's democratizing art and making it possible for anyone to express themselves creatively.
And it's sparking some really interesting conversations about ethics and originality in the digital age.
That's a great point. And it leads us to a question for you, our listener. Now that you can create art in almost any style imaginable, what does originality even mean anymore? And how should artists adapt to this new reality?
It's a lot to think about, but maybe give it some thought while you're busy Ghiblifying your latest selfie.
Exactly. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And happy Ghiblifying!